All right, and we'll go ahead and get started. We're doing a product training tonight with nurse practitioner Rebecca Peterson. She is going to educate us on all things Restore tonight. Rebecca, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you, Chelsea. I was just going to introduce myself, but you did the honors, so I appreciate it. Yeah, and I didn't actually do a PowerPoint tonight because I just figured we'd talk about Restore. But as usual, I still fell down the rabbit hole. I just love too, though. It almost is perfect in my, nerdy mind because the Restore really does three things. It's a cellular detox, it's digestive support, and it's also um, appetite suppressant control. Either way, I guess you want to look at that. But if you break down like the ingredients in each of those three categories, there's almost three in each one. There are 9 ingredients, but one stole from another category. But it's funny because actually all of them, in my eyes again, are almost all of them. I think yeast is the only ingredient in there, yeast hydrosylate, that isn't an antioxidant. So even though if you look at it and the way Plexus kind of marketed it, it put it into like these 3 particular categories, with cellular detox really being about detoxifying and helping out the liver. And your liver has so many functions in your body that really detoxifying it is a huge thing as far as health maintenance. But the overarching, I feel like, bigger thing of Restore is that it's not just liver function, but overall cellular detox, right? Because I mean, we develop free radicals from metabolism. We have oxidative stress. I mean, if you're not growing your own foods from your own soil, I mean, if you're breathing air quality that's less than ideal, essentially, if you don't live in a bubble, which none of us do, you're developing free radicals or undergoing some degree of oxidative stress every day, essentially, right? And when I think of oxidative stress, essentially, it's this like unstable molecule, because going way back to chemistry class, right? But like the outer layer of electrons, it's not paired, it's not whole. So free radicals they create damage, they wreak havoc. They cause premature aging. They're part of leading causes for cancer, all sorts of just metabolic processes that free radicals are, I mean, inflammation, pretty much everything that if you look at, again, the symptoms that we look at from like inflammation, even blood sugar. What's the third one on our list? Why am I not thinking of it off the top of my head? Hormones, blood sugar, inflammation, and just appetite. It's not, it's like that's in Restore, but oh, gut health. Thank you. I'm like, the OG gut health company. That's the thing I can't think of. Thank you, Chelsea. Sounds like tap your head, rub your belly. Been a long day. Thank you. Yes, and obviously, just being able to digest and metabolize. So I guess that didn't quite fit in with what I was going for, but yeah, thank you again. Just scavengers, free radicals, oxidative stress is really what is kind of like a underlying component or a factor in most disease processes, because they cause inflammation. Essentially, free radicals, oxidative stress is what causes inflammation. It's kind of like that cascade that if you don't shut off inflammation, you end up with autoimmune disorders. So, I mean, like you can kind of spread it out, like if you look at like the roots of a tree or things like that, or any type of like hierarchy, free radicals are the enemy for the most part of all of these disease processes. So spirulina is a blue-green algae. It's a potent antioxidant. So and all the things about antioxidants too that I love about them, just from like, again, like a basic perspective, is they share one of their electrons. That's essentially what they do. They're sharers. They share and they care. But they give one of their electrons to the free radical, which stabilizes it, so then it stops wreaking havoc. So they kind of like tell it to calm down and stop being so crazy. So spirulina does that in a big way. Spinach is also huge for oxidative stress. And as I said, like, cancer, diabetes, all of those are inflammatory cascades essentially caused by oxidative stress. And then aloe is also an antioxidant, an anti-inflammatory, but it's also known to help with blood sugar control. So again, that's what I love about it. It's like we kind of put these things into boxes, but they don't just like to play in that one box. They play in a lot of boxes. And a lot of these ingredients not only have like really powerful phytonutrients, which are just plant compounds, they still work a lot of them at a root level of controlling blood glucose level too. So again, it kind of all goes back, yeah, to the gut health, blood sugar, and inflammation, um, while just helping your cells at a base level. And then the digestive support ingredients are ginger and peppermint. And I feel like ginger's been huge for centuries, right? Like that's a old age remedy for it's actually known too for like acid reflux, IBS. I don't know. I know my mom told me to drink it anytime I was nauseated during pregnancy. So I think it's like that one thing too that's just a remedy, like take ginger if your stomach's upset. But peppermint also has, again, being phytonutrient and plant-based, really powerful antioxidant properties. And also aloe is good for blood glucose control. And then the really cool thing too is not only with all this cellular, which the appetite control really does a lot of that too, but it gets more into like the hormone control with neuropeptide Y, which gets whatever. But the plant compounds in the appetite control are hibiscus, magnolia bark, the yeast hydrosylate, which I already talked about, and where's the page? What's the last thing in it? Berberine. And yeah, again, all three of those four. So yeast is the only one that's not an antioxidant, but berberine, magnolia bark, and what's the other one I just said? Hibiscus, are all also antioxidants. But they help with ghrelin control. And that's just another and again, with blood sugar management, as we all know from Slim too, right? That like when you manage your blood sugar, you have less cravings, you have, less. It's not necessarily because it's controlling your appetite or suppressing anything. It's just when your blood sugar is more stable and you don't have those spikes and things like that, you don't have a tendency to crave. It's when you're crashing that you're craving sugar, getting shaky, you're feeling off, and all those things. So just that management helps with control. Besides, again, with hormones and the regulation of your hormones, ghrelin and leptin and things like that, it helps with. So I know they recommend the two different uses for it. So at night for like that overall oxidative stress, just restore, right? Because you're resting your gut, your body is doing its most restorative processes while you're sleeping. So at night before bed for a restorative, but also it can be used for an appetite suppressant because of the work it does with blood sugar control and your hunger hormones 30 minutes before 2 meals a day. So you can actually take it twice daily, 30 minutes before your meals as well, if you want to use it as a appetite management tool. But the beauty of that is obviously it's not just that, as we know. It's going to work better at night as a complete restorative, but you're still essentially ingesting really powerful plant chemicals and antioxidants, which are helpful against oxidative stress. So just a beautiful restorative all around.
Okay, I do have a couple of questions. So I've seen a couple of people, obviously because it's a detoxer, I've seen a couple of people who have even been on their supplements a long time saying that they're detoxing with the Restore. Would you say that people need to ease in to Restore and do like half a cap, or just go for the full scoop and just kind of just listen to your body?
Yeah, I guess I would go with your second one there, the listen to your body. I tell people to, yeah, kind of follow what feels right to them. And their personality too, right? Like, so when I have people ask that too, when they're like, well, how should I do this? If they're worried about detox, even with triplex or something, right? It's like, well, I'll give you your two kind of avenues, right? It's to just jump right in and get it over and done with, or ease in. You might have symptoms for longer, but they may
Mhm.
not be as potent. It's kind of the same way I used to talk about antivirals
Mhm.
with people, right? It's like, yes, you can take it and it might lessen your symptoms, but they'll last longer, or you might have terrible nightmares, like you could have all these terrible side effects, but it'll probably be done sooner.
Right.
So which camp do you fit into?
Yeah. Good call. And another question I've gotten, is it pregnancy and nursing safe?
Uh,
I've
I'm
heard
trying to,
mixed
I mean,
reviews on the hibiscus. I don't know.
um, I kind of sit outside the normal camp. I would say Plexus says 18 or over, right? I mean, Plexus, I think, says that for most things because all of their safety and data and testing is on adults, obviously, other than their kids line. So, and they obviously have a huge medical team. So, um, but I mean, most of these ingredients are found in regular foods. And again, it's just I mean, yes, again, most of us aren't eating magnolia bark or like you said, hibiscus. But in my research, I don't see that there's anything. I mean, it lowers, some of them lower cholesterol, some of them are more pertinent to like hypertension. I mean, it's just like red wines contain nitrates, so nitric acid, just like our active, right? I mean, that's a natural vasodilator.
Mhm.
I personally would rather people eat their food to treat their medical conditions or take their supplements than put them on a medication. That's kind of just my bag. So I guess I'll do the PC. Plexus says it's an adult. But I can't see anything that would be detrimental to a pregnant mom or a nursing mom.
Yeah, that definitely would fall in the camp of I'm not a doctor or I'm not your doctor. Everything that I'm seeing checks out, but I know people feel different ways about herbs. Here's the label, run it by your midwife or run it by your doctor. That's always my go-to.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a few things that I'm trying to think. It's not, or maybe it is ease. Is ease the one? Probably because even though it's or it is selective, so it doesn't mess with your gut lining. It's COX-1 selective instead of COX-1 and COX-2. But can I want to say increase your am I remembering that correctly off the top of my head? Might not be. So
No,
again, take
there's
this with a
something
grain of
in
salt. But
ease. There's something in ease, the pineapple extract that I've had some midwives say, hold off on it. Just because and I can't remember, what is it in ease that's from pineapple?
I don't know, but I know it's from the stem. But is
Yeah,
that what increases bleeding time? Because I
it
know when
can
I was doing all my research on it.
it can cause uterine contractions in like large amounts. So, I've had some doctors okay it, others have just said, hold off just to be safe. So again, always refer. Does anybody have any other questions about Restore?
Yes, it is bromelain.
Bromelain. Bromeliad's a plant, but it may have
It was,
autocorrected that stuff.
Oh,
it reminded us what it was.
it must have auto-corrected because that's not what I typed.
Because it didn't know what the heck bromelain was.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions about Restore? Because I don't want to take up any time if you don't. I have one question for you, Rebecca, not about Restore specifically, but I'm just really curious as you being a, you know, nurse practitioner on our team, and I know you've done a deep dive on all of our products. Do you have a preference in what you offer people or refer people to in between the slims, between the microbiome or the hunger control? I love them both. I tend to sway people to go to the microbiome. I'm following leaders in this company who, range from a list of people who have zero experience in any kind of nutritional background or holistic, background to the really crunchy, jewels who, and they all have a range of opinions. And some of them have said the microbiome gives you more bang for your buck because it's got the gut health component in it. I don't know. I was just curious. There's no right or wrong here. I was just curious what you think with people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy to share my opinion, and it's just that, right? Yeah, I'm preferential to the microbiome. I've always erred towards that. I agree with the camp that thinks it's more bang for your buck. Um, Dave Karnak even spoke of the kids that, he looked into the guar gum and the kids is actually sometimes more beneficial for men, that men in the research that he did sometimes are more responsive to like the microbiome flourish from like the kids just because of the different prebiotics that are in the kids line. Because he was using the microbiome activating and he found that the kids microbiome activating actually worked better for him. And I guess there is some female male differential there, which I didn't know until he did that research. But yes, I do think that the microbiome, even though you still have a component, obviously, of feeding the good bacteria, even with the hunger control. I think it's a more prominent increase in the diversity of your gut. And essentially, the more diverse your gut is, it's like there's a direct correlation between the diversity of your gut and your overall health. I'm trying to mix the H and the T there, as well as your immune system. And I mean, I guess the health and the immune system kind of go together. But yeah, I mean, I read just so many studies about, I mean, you could literally take somebody's, microbiome, and the best way to do that currently is still just by looking at a stool sample, or the simplest, I guess. But I mean, and tell whether they have Alzheimer's, whether they're schizophrenic, whether they're, I mean, like just by the strains of bacteria that you find in their gut, like they have correlated the prominence of like an unhealthy gut with multiple like mood disorders and behavioral issues, and just, yeah, it's crazy that you can look at a microbiome and determine, like I said, not only how healthy you are with like inflammation and markers like C-reactive protein and different things like that, but also essentially you could tell, you could kind of give almost like a medical history of like, I would say this person's suffering from schizophrenia and depression and XYZ based on their microbiome. So that's why I tend towards the microbiome activating.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite too. I just want to say this real quick. I read a study recently, just kind of piggybacking on what you just said. I feel like we've come so far in the understanding and the science behind the microbiome, way much more than 11 years ago, almost, when I started Plexus, because the notion back then, even like the commercials back then, was like you just had to eat so many Activia yogurts to get your gut healthy. But then they started attributing gut health, making that gut brain component connection to the state of your microbiome. And I even read, just with all the gut health issues I've had and different emails and newsletters I get, I read this not too long ago. I don't remember when the study was. It was in the last couple of years, but it was a case study on a set of twins, and one of them had a fecal transplant. And I know that sounds crazy, but like she was having, I don't even remember what her underlying diagnosis was, but that's a thing. Like there's such a thing today where they do a fecal transplant. And the fecal transplant that they put into this twin was from somebody who was obese. And this twin became obese and had never been obese and had never had weight gain issues. And I just thought that was so interesting reading it, how much our gut impacts. It's almost like the hub of our body that impacts so much of what goes on. And I feel like we're understanding and recognizing more and more of that today. So that's just me nerding out for a minute to just share that with you all. I read that and I was like, oh my goodness, crazy.
I believe that. And I love all of y'all, but I don't think I'll ever do a fecal transplant with any of you. That is another level of need. But I guess if I did need one, I would want one from you guys because you all have amazing gut health. So I'm going to line you guys up on my medical sheet if that's ever something I need.
I
Rebecca,
have a question. Is that okay? Real
yeah.
quick. Okay, because I've only ever done the hunger control. Because so much of what I wanted was weight loss. I do have the balance. I do have the MetaBurn. I struggled a bit with the MetaBurn, but I would love to try switching to the watermelon I would love to try that. So would the reset or the balance would be more beneficial as far as curbing appetite than if I switched from the slim to just the microbiome? Is my question making sense?
I was going to say, so you're asking if, no, rephrase
I've
it.
always
I'm
done
not.
the hunger control for weight loss. So if I swap that out with the microbiome, do you think the reset and the balance would be really important to have in replace of the hunger control?
I mean, I think the restore, because of the appetite, control factors that it has in it, would help with that for sure. I also though think that even with the microbiome activating, one of the things that the microbiome activating does really well is balances blood glucose. And because it does that through the diversity of the flourishing the microbiome, it manages to curb hunger just because your blood sugar is more balanced. So I feel like the hunger control is more focused on ghrelin and leptin and like actual appetite suppressing and control. And it does, again, when you do like black cherry and the balance, it works like a glucagon-like peptide. But it doesn't typically raise your insulin as much. It's just lowering and managing your blood sugar. So unlike the Wegovy and semaglutide and things like that on the market, which just kind of raise your sugar, it actually just tries to more naturally subdue, again, level your blood glucose level. But the microbiome activating essentially does that too. And that's why a lot of people on the Slim Just microbiome activating report that they're less hungry and they're like, what is it about that? I mean, I think that's how it got its name, Slim, if I'm not mistaken, but it's the blood sugar control that creates that appetite suppressant type effect, just because you're not craving as much because your sugar is more controlled. And I think your gut diversity also has a big role in that as well. So again, though, you were asking like, would the Restore and the Balance play a huge role in that? Yes, I mean, I still think Balance is a prominent product as far as blood sugar maintenance and carbs and things like that. It actually helps with carb control as well as just, again, kind of normalizing your blood glucose level. I mean, I think the Restore is an all-around great product. Like I said, I mean, my biggest thing with it is it's essentially a huge potent antioxidant, and it's a whole bunch of them, put together. So, it's not only detoxing your liver, it's literally detoxing all your cells, because free radicals will go after anything. They are, like I said, like a root of inflammation. So
That's so helpful. So yeah, just swapping from the hunger control to the microbiome, you think just even in itself, that is going to help balance that blood sugar, so you still don't have those hunger, that same thing. That's real. I want to try that. That's what I've always used, and so that's the only one I've usually recommended, but I didn't know that, so I'm excited to try that.
although I do notice, and I don't know if it's just the metabolic effect, if it's everything about the reset, and I'm wondering because I haven't done the Restore all by itself, the way they talk about like the 30 minutes before meals, but yeah, I mean, I personally, every time I do the reset, it's insane the boost that you get with just like the mental clarity, the focus. I mean, your appetite like goes down. I mean, I've extended the Restores with kind of like my own degree of, or not Restore, but reset, because like, I don't know, you're like, I just feel so good now that I'm not like eating as much.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of switching it up too. I mean, I know people, and Chandra is one of them. She's not on here. She's one that like her autoimmune issues are, and she would say this, her autoimmune issues do so much better on hunger control. She can't do the microbiome. She actually switched over to the microbiome when it first came out. And I know a handful of people like that who have severe autoimmune, and for some reason they just do better on the hunger control. That's one of the reasons I suggest hunger control to everybody starting out. I love the hunger control. Most people like it, but I'm a big fan of switching it up and seeing if, something else works for sure. And I
Yeah,
think, go ahead.
sorry, Chelsea. I was just going to say, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I was talking earlier, when I asked that question about microbiome or the hunger control, a lot of the conversation, like on the Jules page or the Diamond page with Plexus, was people who have autoimmune issues reacting to the microbiome.
Mhm.
And it's something with the Akkermansia or whatever, I think maybe, I don't know. But that just reminded me. That's why I asked that question. I was just curious about that. I don't know what that is, Rebecca, or if it's a legit thing, but like people with autoimmune issues tend to not do well on the microbiome.
And I know some people who do, like I know some people with autoimmune who do fine with it, but I know a handful that don't. And that's enough to keep me pushing everybody to hunger control, but I don't know.
I guess it's just a friendly reminder, you guys, if somebody's not reacting well on one, switch it up.
Yeah.
Switch it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Rebecca, you're
Um,
amazing. You're amazing. I'm
Thank you,
excited
Chelsea.
for
And I just want to, I'm gonna reiterate something Stephanie says all the time too, but I mean, I get a lot of, I feel like a lot of questions like that where it's like they're not, and it's the question that you asked, I think too, Chelsea, it's just to know your own body, right? I mean, it's to ask more questions. I mean, I'm always happy to provide my medical expertise and troubleshoot, individuals if anybody ever wants to do that. But I feel like even just digging deeper into symptoms and what people are experiencing, if they're sending, because a lot of times too, it's not detox, it's something else going on, right? I mean, there are just so many ancillary factors that could be playing into it. That a little bit more digging, but also, yeah, don't be afraid to, again, we're not a cookie cutter company, right? I mean, like, yes, we have a variety of things. And I mean, I think we all kind of tend towards triplex because that is our gut health triad. But yeah, we also have such a variety now that I'm sure you guys didn't have 10 years ago. Obviously, I can't speak to that, but don't be afraid to, try one over the other or come up with. I mean, I know some people who like it just because like the blood orange was one of my girlfriend's favorite. I don't think she really cared whether it was microbiome or hunger. She just liked that flavor. But yeah, I guess again, sorry, just the not being cookie cutter and being willing to switch things up.
Very true. Very true. Rebecca, you're awesome. Thank you for that. And Jessica, that's good. That's a good piece of advice too. Just like, knowing that sometimes even your own personal preference, you may need to switch things up. Like as we age, and Stephanie has even mentioned this before too, like after you've been on a supplement for a while, like maybe you need to switch up your regimen a little bit and do something a little bit differently. Maybe you need to switch up the timing of when you're taking it or take a different slim or add Vital Biome in. There's a lot of power in just like shaking things up and doing something new with your body. I think that's one of the reasons Reset works so well is because it's doing something different and kind of putting your body in a different state. So that's super helpful. Maybe I need to switch it up because I just turned 40. Maybe we need to do that. Okay. Well, I know it's 9 o'clock and I want to keep this really short and sweet. I just have a couple of words to share about the free Reset promo that's running now through the end of the month. These are typically some of our biggest months. July is typically a big month. People are kind of, I hate to say it, but we're kind of wrapping up summer. School starts here for us in 2 weeks. My husband goes back to, Cassie, I am so sorry. I know you don't want to hear it. He goes back to work in 2 weeks, y'all. So people are like starting to get back on routine. They're starting to think back to school. So the biggest thing I want us to do now at the end of the month, we've got a lot of time through the end of the month, is to have a strategy, to not go in now to the end of the month, just kind of winging it, just kind of posting here and there, posting and praying. I want you to have a strategy from now to the end of the month. And one of the biggest things I'll share, and my team has seen me, I'm like in gajillions of messages. And I attribute that to the fact that I did a reset last week. I had no idea they were going to come out with this promo. It was just kind of, we were doing a team reset. I was like, let me do one. I have 5 carts out right now. And every one of those are people who I talked to last week when I was doing my personal reset. And they all ghosted me when I sent out messages last week. But now that there's the promo, they watched my journey, they watched the weight loss, and now they want to jump in on the free reset. So I can't encourage you enough. If you haven't already ordered your own reset, invest the $89 in your business. Take people on the journey with you. Be vulnerable, take pictures. Y'all know how private of a person I am. It took a lot for me to get in bike shorts and a sports bra and take that picture, but it resonates with people. It shows that you're vulnerable. It shows, results don't lie. So get vulnerable and create your own testimony. You've got more than enough time to do that. If you want to link arms with somebody on this page for accountability and do a reset on your own together, I think that would be incredible. So we're not going to post and pray. We're not just going to throw up a couple of reset before and afters now to the end of the month. We're going to be super intentional with 3 different groups. I want you to be intentional with your potentials. Every person you've ever had a plexus conversation with, I don't know if it was 3 years ago or 2 months ago, whether they ghosted you, whether they didn't respond, this is a natural reach out for a revisit, a natural follow-up for people. Nobody's going to be upset with you for offering them a free reset. And a lot of people are going to be willing to do that versus just purchasing a combo. So make a list of all of your potentials, go back through and message every single person. And I would be intentional with when I did those reach outs. Make sure that you're posting in your stories and you're layering some before and afters and talking about reset in your stories on the days that you're messaging these people, because that's going to pop up in their feed. If you're engaging with them on social media, your stories are going to naturally populate for them. That's going to be an extra layer of accountability. So just be intentional with when you're sending those and when you're sharing. Another group of people you want to be intentional with is white liners. We call them white liners, but anybody who hasn't ordered in the last 6 months, they're eligible to be cleared out so that they can order as a new customer and get the reset. So go back through your back office and look in all of your levels and reach out to anybody who hasn't ordered in the last 6 months and shoot them a voice message and say, hey, I was just going through my back office. I noticed that you haven't ordered in the past 6 months, which means you're eligible for a free reset. And then you can kind of share with them there. And then the next group of people you want to be super intentional with is your happy customers. And to me, like, this should be your primary group right here, because the referral cash this month, have we seen the referral cash this month? It is $465 to refer 3 people. I'm going to say it again. It is $465 to refer 3 people to Plexus this month. And if you didn't watch the mapping call from last week, it's recorded on my YouTube channel. If you don't have that, I can share it with you. I love Brooke Hemingway's verbiage on this, sending a voice message and saying, hey, Ashley, I know you're loving your Plexus. I just did a little bit of math for you based on the incentives that are going on this month. And if you refer just a couple of people this month, you're going to earn over $465 this month. Would you be willing to share 1 or 2 hours of your time with me so I can throw you a wellness chat and help you earn $465? And just put it into layman's terms for her. 1 or 2 hours worth of work for $465. Lay out the visual, do the math for them, send it in a voice message, and start a conversation. Libby, I can send that typed out in our group, but it's also in the mapping video that I did last week. But it really is just doing the math for them. Hey, I ran some numbers, or I did some math for you this month. And if you refer just 3 people, you're just laying it out for them, but I'll write it out there for you. But that's the strategy. Like, do a reset, share the heck out of it, be vulnerable, and take care of those three groups of people, and keep sharing about it. Likely the first time you share about it, you may get a couple of messages, but the more you share about it, the more you share your personal results and your personal testimony and everybody else's, and the more you're personally sharing, the more interested people are going to be. And as you're having those conversations throughout the month, you're creating touch points for yourself at the end of the month when the special starts to end that you can go back and talk to people with. But I would front load your month now so that you have those conversations to come back to. But I will share that verbiage. But it's just about intentionality and not just checking the box when you're reaching out to people. It's, okay, what does Cassidy need to hear? How does she need to hear this? If I know that Cassidy's goals are headaches and weight loss and energy, how can I share the triplex and trim combo with her in a way that meets her needs, in a way that meets where she's at? You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow I am doing a power hour at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be sending out message blitz. And I'm going to be focused specifically tomorrow on creating silvers and helping people, my happy customers, and helping my newbies. I just had a conversation with the first girl who's ordered from the carts, and she actually is really interested. She had slid over on one of my opportunity calls months ago, ghosted me, just ordered tonight, and I revisited with her. I said, hey, I know you slid over about the opportunity a couple of months ago. Would you be interested in earning some referral cash this month? And I sent her the graphic, and she was like, heck yeah, I would. What do I need to do? So anybody you've ever talked to, layer in those conversations and follow them back up.
I love that you say that, Chelsea, because I feel like I'll just speak for myself. Like, I've been so poor about doing that in the past, where I don't follow up with people when we have these amazing incentives and, and cash incentives and different things every month. that's so easy, you guys, to shoot somebody a quick message. I have a family member who signed up and who is going to be silver, hopefully, by the end of this week. So I'm super excited for that. And are you done, Chelsea? Are you? I didn't want to.
Mhm.
Okay. I just want to say this real quick. I want to give 2 shout outs real fast. To Jessica for being on this call, who's recently lost a family member. So if you all could keep her aunt in your prayers. They've been traveling, but she got on this call tonight and her and I have been in touch. So if you guys could just shoot Jess and her family a prayer and send some love. And Corey, Mr. Corey here, who coming out of convention, we have done probably 4 or 5 calls together where he is, and Corey, if you guys don't know Corey, he's on Dan and Noel's team. He has just connected me to people that he's signed up, or people that he signed up in the past that wanted to come back and revisit this opportunity. We've done like a quick 15, 20-minute call just to kind of introduce myself, to say, hey, I'm another layer of support here for you. This is why I love Plexus. This is what it's done for me. He's got people chomping at the bit to do this business. He did a business opportunity event, well, products too, Sunday night on a Zoom, and I got on that with him, and he just crushed it, you guys, and he's absolutely just on fire. So I just wanted to shout out Corey, all this hard work that you've been doing, and all these amazing people that you've been connecting. And I will just say, and Jess can attest to this, and Noelle and Chelsea, some of the busiest and most times in my business where we've been most like on fire and in momentum in the beginning was when we were just getting on calls with people. So if you've never gotten anybody on a call with Chelsea or Noelle or Jessica or me, please do, you guys, because third-party validation is powerful. You know, it's not about selling them. It's not about convincing anybody. It's just like, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Stephanie. She's been doing Plexus a little longer than me. I just want to connect you all. You know, we're both here to support you, and people get really inspired by that. So I feel like we've gotten out of doing that the last couple years. So please, I know you're traveling, Corey, so no sweat, but y'all, I just wanted to say that, like, don't be afraid to say, you know, can I get you on the phone with Chelsea, or 3-way message, right? Text message, Facebook message, thread. Just wanted to throw that out there. Like, it's really powerful to do, and people love it.
Mhm. Love a 3-way message. Any questions, any thoughts before we sign off? And anybody here is welcome to come to my power hour tomorrow. It's going to be at 1 o'clock on the same Zoom link, and we just hang out and send messages together. Jessica, me too. I never would have worked this business if I hadn't gotten on that first call, trick call. It was a trick call. It wasn't. It wasn't. Oh my goodness. We did get on. Trisha told me we were getting on under the pretense of troubleshooting my BioCleanse, and then I left wanting to work the business. You never know.
You bought into my snake oil, friend.
I sure did.
Uh,
All right, y'all. Well,
Love you
hopefully I'll
guys.
see some of y'all tomorrow at 1, and we'll bang out some messages. Night, everybody.